There's this little fight we're all hoping gets made called Crawford Spence.
Yes, this little fight. Yeah.
And I was wondering, do you like the younger, bigger, stronger guy, or the older, more versatile counterpunching guy? Who are both great.
I'm going into the fight from a 50-50 standpoint. My reason why is, besides the obvious, that they both high-level fighters, I'm looking at the coaching system, and they both have a very good, I favor more Spence coaching system.
He's becoming the more decorated coach, the more proven guy.
Yes. So I'm very big on Derek and the way he go about his training, the way he go about his system, the way how he, he zoned in on fundamentals, and he believed in everything. What's the word? He focused on simplicity. That's what I'm trying to say. He doesn't do an overhaul of different things. And what I love the most about him is everything I see Spence do on the pads, that same system get transferred into fight.
Right.
Hands up, small steps, left to the right, high hand up this way, left hand up this way, and he goes forward, he goes back. And to me, that's the definition of a very, very great fighter. Can you box forward? Can you box backwards? Can you box going to your left? Can you box going to the right? Like I watch so many different guys do everything well going to their left. That's why if you notice when I'm training guys, I'll say, give me 4 jabs going this way. Okay, now I'm going to throw same 4 jabs.
How would you prepare Crawford with the fight Errol, with the pressure that Errol brings?
A lot of people think, Errol gonna walk Bud down and we walk through Bud. Now look at it. Bud has stopped every opponent since he got it at 147. And that's just him just being strong, letting you use strength, and not trying to hold him at a certain weight. I let him walk around the weight that he want to walk around. It could be 65 one day, it could be 68 the next day, But the fight that I see Bud fighting is boxing Errol, and he probably stop him in the later rounds. Because Errol keep coming like the way he do, he gonna run into something. And when he run into something, y'all know Bud is a great finisher. Finish him off.
Bud actually walks around close to 170.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes he do, but he'll walk in the ring at 56, 57.
Malik Scott, right? Malik Scott, out of the 2 opinions that I just put up, first of all, Bomac is gonna say what he's gonna say because he's a coach to one of the fighters going in the ring. Basically, he's gonna say that his fighter is the best thing since sliced bread, and he's gonna stop Errol Spence. That's probably gonna rub a lot of Errol Spence fans the wrong way. But you see, the middle of the road guy, Malik Scott, man, I don't know. I mean, he's entitled to opinion. Don't get me wrong. But when he takes that opinion and tries to sort of wrap it up in this expertise as a coach and this special trained eye that he supposedly has, I think, like, you're such a pretentious God knows what. Because first of all, you were able to you kind of got snuck in to be Deontay Wilder's coach because you're his mate and his cheerleader and his hype man. And the only 2 people that we know that you're coaching for real are Deontay Wilder and your brother or your son. I think it's your son, forgive me. So Malik Scott is training his son, and he talks about, when I'm training my guys that I'm training. Dude, you're training like 2 guys that we know of. One is your son, and one, I'm not even sure you're really training him, really, more than just being a hype man and support system for the dude that just got beat. And if we're going by that record, it's not a good one. The 2 fights in which you, what was it? Well, you took over 1 fight, and the guy got knocked out badly. You got knocked out badly. We haven't seen you, well, yeah, fair enough. Since you took over, he's beat some other guy, knocked some guy out, Christian Hammer, I believe, and started crying on stage. So apart from that, I don't know. Malik Scott, man. But you're setting that aside. Look, Malik Scott, right? Malik Scott likes to talk about, tries to get. He's on that Bernard Hopkins level, isn't he? Of like being so insightful and so profound and so deep, dude. Bottom line is this: you're a guy who does OnlyFans with your wifey or whoever she is, that BBW you with, and you got sort of roped in to be, you kind of like got like promoted to being Deontay Wilder's trainer because you've been his, lackey for a minute, and that's it. Don't be giving us this expertise bullshit like you see and because you can move this, you can move. Dude, everybody can see that Errol Spence does the basics, quite well, the basics. But the problem is they're just very, very basic. They're very, very basic, and we're not sure whether he has more to his game apart from that. He brings attrition, and he has 1-step movement here and there, and he walks you down or whatever he does. But don't try to make it out as if like You're giving us some phenomenal insight into that shit because it's bullshit.
I want to be the best fighter possible before I retire. I want to be able, I think, me personally, that I am one of the best boxers in the world, male or female. I think it's Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, me. That's it. That's it. But you know what? I will say that I think that I'm so good that I'm hard on myself because I should be knocking these girls out. If I can go on there and win unanimous decisions, I'm always asking myself after the fight, why didn't you get the knockout? How come didn't the knockout come? So for me, that's what I'm working on. So I got all the skills and the power and everything. I just have to figure it out and put it all together. And I've been fighting some of the toughest competition ever since I've been pro. So I think that I'm just going to continue learning and building. But I think that the knockouts are getting closer and closer.
Claressa Shields is probably one of the most delusional black women I've ever seen. I think the fact that Claressa Shields, all right, fights the way she does, with the limited amount of skill that she has, can actually claim that she's one of the best fighters in the world, is a testament to how poor female boxing is, even though we shouldn't really say it. If you watch Claressa Shields box, or if you watch female boxing anyway, for the most part, one thing they lack is body punching. Claressa Shields has no body punching whatsoever. Her opponents never attack her to the body anyway, so she has no reason to actually be cautious about going forward. But they're always headhunting, and they're predictable. And one of the most predictable punchers out there, as far as I'm concerned, is Claressa Shields. She actually practically waves her right hand above her face before she throws it. Like, I'm coming with this right hand. It's horrible. She's terrible. And she punches with the wrong part of the fist. It's crazy. And for somebody like this to believe, and she misses, she swings and misses, she hits with the wrong part of the glove, she waves, she telegraphs her punches. Like, I don't even know. Like, there's nothing. As much as I want to respect female boxers, there's no way in hell that this woman should go around claiming that she's one of the best fighters in the world. It's an absolute travesty. And I suppose to a certain degree, I understand some people who oppose her because they don't really want to sort of use her as a measure to sort of judge all female boxers. But the fact that there's no denying the fact that she has all these accolades. But I think, in a way, whether we like it or not, it sort of stands as a testament to how poor female boxing is. Because she's a dreadful boxer. She's horrible.
Lock his ass up. Lock his ass up. You're going to jail. You're going to jail. Lock his ass up. Lock his ass up. You're going to jail. You're going to jail. You're not going to jail. You're going to prison.
Gervonta Davis, you going to jail? You going to jail? You going to jail? There's this rhythmic tune that they sing on social media. The black women sing, you going to jail? That applies to Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis is going to prison. He's not even going to jail, he's going to prison. Because he abused the system that was giving him an out. He flagrantly abused the system. And now he's going to have to do the time, which is kind of short, given the gravity of the offense. The nature of the offense, I should say. It's kind of short, really. It's not that long. But, you know, niggas are going nig. So apparently he couldn't stay in the coach's house, and because the coach's house was too small. And that coach there is a fucking enabler. I've been telling that coach, whatever the fuck his name is, coach, I can't remember, the one with the glasses. You know what I mean? He's an enabler. He's been enabling Tank Davis to get away with a lot of shit. And he's gonna be the one who causes Tank Davis to end up in prison for real, and not get out. Because he has no control over the kid, and he's full of shit himself. He's the one who put out the fucking false narrative that Bernard Hopkins was trying to rob testosterone on Tank Davis. That would suggest to me that he's that way inclined. He's that kind of person. You understand me? A dirty motherfucker. I'm not saying that Bernard Hopkins isn't a bit shifty here and there. But, you know, to jump to that conclusion and be on that level, on that shit, I don't appreciate that. But going back to Gervonta Davis, I don't think he seems to understand. You know, unless maybe he should have been made to understand how terrible the optics of what he did is. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it's not as bad as being reported, but the optics and the report of it, of a pregnant woman hitting and running, whatever the fuck, it doesn't look good. And if you can escape getting severely punished for it, censured so to speak, then you should just take it as a blessing. Take it as an opportunity to, dare I say, how they put it, not renew, but rehabilitate your image. But if you believe that the image that you want to continue with is that of a baller, you see, this is the problem with Escobar, with the reports that we got with Escobar. Because you see, when Escobar got busted, right, all right, he was so powerful that the report was he was allowed to build his own prison and stay in there because of corruption of Colombia. So now you've got somebody like Gervonta Davis, and he's probably heard that type of shit, and they put him on house arrest, and they think, guess what? I'm gonna hire out the Four Seasons and this condo that I've got, okay, and live there lavishly, like Escobar. And now your ass is going to jail because you ain't no fucking Escobar. You're a fucking non-talking, ignorant fucking boxer. That's what you are. And like they said, you're a person who doesn't think too deeply about issues, because if you did, you wouldn't have got caught up in a situation like that where you're ending up your ass going back to prison. And hopefully, if they really want to do you a favor, you get into a situation in prison where you're not actually allowed out. You know what I'm saying? If you get caught up in a situation in prison because of who you are, because motherfuckers in prison don't want you to leave. You know what I'm saying? If they can't exploit you one way or another, then, you know, if you're in Gem Pop, I don't know. So fuck it, man. I don't feel sorry for Gervonta Davis, but I don't feel sorry for Gervonta Davis. Fuck him. Interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. Rick Glazer's awfully quiet. Rick Glazer came out. He came running out of the traps. You know what I mean? Like a greyhound. On one of the social media platforms out there to defend Oscar De La Hoya not being present in the aftermath of Ryan Garcia's loss to Tank Davis. Gave every excuse about how important Oscar De La Hoya is, and he has got enough time, enough hours in the day to deal with everything that's going on, particularly the small issue of his fighter losing and being there, despite being the main promoter, being one of the main promoters, dare I say, of that fighter. In fact, we could consider Ryan Garcia to be his principal asset on Golden Boy at the moment, of which he has nothing to replace with. It certainly isn't going to be Jaime Munguia, and as we know, Zodo is finished. That being said, there was a spat between Ryan Garcia and Oscar De La Hoya in public on social media, but that's as public as it can be. And Oscar, funnily enough, right, initially I thought, what's wrong with Oscar? Oscar's a disgrace, you know, because you know Ryan Garcia is a sensitive type. That's what appeals to his audience on social media, this sort of girly sensitive type that he is, that he displays on social media, plus his good looks. That's why he has that large audience. It certainly is in his boxing. You're trying to capitalize on that, and you've brought him into the photo as one of the biggest fights and biggest fighters for Golden Boy. You managed to get that fight with Tank. You had propagandists like Rick Glazer and etc. Forgive me, I was going to say but I can't remember who else. Rick Glazer especially, claiming that that fight sold as much as it did, principally because of Ryan Garcia. But of course, Ryan Garcia can't have another pay-per-view by himself, because that would just be wrong. But Tank had nothing to do with that. But let's not dwell too much on Rick Glazer. Rick Glazer's a racist piece of shit. And if you don't recognize a racist, then I feel sorry for you. You can't recognize such a racist. I bet Rick Glazer's wife, that black wife of his, hates black people. I bet she hates black people with a passion. I bet she hates black people with a passion. Because there's no way you can't say a woman like that don't hate black people and she married a guy that looks like Rick Glazer. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, that's by the by. Love is love. It is what it is. But, you know, I would not have said that before, but I've looked around and I've looked at the type of women that deal with guys like Rick Glazer. And you find that those kind of black women that deal with those type of guys, first of all, they're sort of, I won't call them middle-aged. They're sort of like, they've aged a bit. So, I mean, I don't want to generalize, but I do feel that one thing is consistent about them. They hate black men. They don't like black people specifically. I mean, that's understandable to a degree, the black society, black communities. And they join in that sort of subtle, obnoxious racism, the dog whistle racism, that their spouses espouse and utter. You know what I mean? They don't eschew it. They don't reject it. In fact, they embrace it wholeheartedly and promote it. So, I don't really know. Those are assumptions on my part. And you could accuse me of saying I don't know, but there's a pattern that I see with people like that going back to Rick Glazer. But that's not the topic, is it? The topic is Oscar de la Hoya. And I'm talking about those particular issues beyond boxing, because I'm going to speak about Oscar de la Hoya's issue beyond boxing. Oscar de la Hoya's issue beyond boxing is this: you cannot expect him to empathize or sympathize with Ryan Garcia, because if you look into the background of Oscar de la Hoya, he was forever looking for the appreciation of his father. And his father never appreciated him. His father never appreciated him, and he's always nagged him. So he's a hurt person who hurts people. He's a hurt person who hurts people. That's why he dismissed what Ryan Garcia put out there, saying like, hey, thanks team, look out for me more than my own team. And they say, oh, you still crying about that? I got you so much. That's like some gangster shit. That's like some hood shit. But when you look at it, the reason why Oscar behaved like that, and don't think about Bernard. Bernard's a fucking... Bernard might try to come off as being some sort of... some philosopher fucking pauper. I won't call him king. You know what I'm saying? Some philosopher, some pseudo-intellectual philosopher. I don't even know. He's not even a pseudo-intellectual. He's just fucking terrible. But anyway, but you don't expect Bernard Hopkins to sympathize or empathize with Ryan Garcia, because there's a certain racial element to Bernard Hopkins in the way he sees things anyway. Like, hey, well, if I can make it, and you're good looking and you're white, you should be able to make it too. So, he's going to be on that level. But Oscar, on the other hand, though, you would expect Oscar to be able to at least empathize and look out for Ryan Garcia, if you don't know the background of Oscar de la Hoya. But if you know the background of Oscar de la Hoya, you know he's simply incapable of doing that. He's simply incapable of doing that. You know what I mean? He's not just a narcissist. He's a sociopath. But I'm not sure whether it's nature or nurture, whether he's been conditioned to be that way. He's a pathological liar. He's a sociopath and a narcissist. And maybe that's why his dad saw in him, and why his dad didn't embrace him, or his dad was very cold to him, like, this nigga here, something wrong with this dude. Let me just keep him at arm's length. When he lost to Felix Trinidad, apparently the only joy he got out of that was that his dad empathized with him for that, because he felt he had been robbed, and his dad at that moment sympathized for him. And that made up for the loss of the fight itself. So Oscar has issues that are way deeper than anybody could understand. And I feel sorry for anybody who feels that they should go to Oscar and ask Oscar to be their promoter. That's the dumbest shit you could do. So Anthony Joshua's back at it again. And I gotta be honest, the roots of why I cannot stand Anthony Joshua actually begin here with the type of stuff that he does. Now, I gotta be honest, I don't like Dillian Whyte. I think Dillian Whyte gets more credit than he deserves. Dillian Whyte is a fucking disgrace. Dillian Whyte is one of those people who gets applause and credit for basically putting himself in a fucking filthy and dirty situation and climbing out of it, and still acting as if they're in it. I don't think I can really explain it properly, but here's the thing. When you look at the background of Dillian Whyte, I don't appreciate people who always want to talk about they're from the streets and stuff like that. Well, in fact, you put yourself in that situation anyway. It wasn't through circumstances. It wasn't through circumstances beyond your control. All right? You're the one who decided to have a kid at 13 or wherever the fuck. You're the one who decided to run the streets and get stabbed or get shot, wherever the fuck is happening. It'll happen to you. You didn't learn once. You run the streets. It is what it is. And I don't, as much as he talks about this street thing, I'm not sure whether he did time or anything like that. So I don't really give a fuck about people who run the streets and all that shit. You understand me? Now, I'm saying that because Anthony Joshua, right? And here's the thing I can't stand about Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua has this difference, this sort of street thing going on with Dillian Whyte. But Anthony Joshua's a little bit more subtle about it. And he knows he's a cut above in terms of perception, in regards to appreciation. A cut above Dillian Whyte, all right? He can sun Dillian Whyte whenever he wants to. Plus, he beat him in the ring. It is what it is. But here's my thing, right? You've got to have the whole thing sorted out in a way that you maintain the same policy towards everybody, all right? For months now, I'd say, Tyson Fury has been having a go at Anthony Joshua, calling him all sorts of bitches, all sorts of this, all sorts of that, manipulating the media, talking shit. Suddenly there's some information I don't even know, I didn't even hear about it. That's how fucking obscure the information is. You know what I'm saying? That Dillian Whyte, I mean, they have been talking about Dillian Whyte faking Anthony Joshua again, but you know, it's sort of like, well, yeah, I suppose if there's nothing else to do, you might as well. It's just like a what do you call it? Something of the last resorts. I can't remember the phrase exactly, but you know what I mean. But you know, at the end of the day, if Dillian Whyte is a fight and nothing else materializes before he goes into a big fight, just a sort of like a keep busy fight, which would be competitive and which would, like, you know, appeal to a certain demographic out there. And I'm not talking about race or anything like that, but a group of people, a demographic of people in London within a certain age range, and have a particular philosophy of life and shit like that, and you see the contrast between the two, then yeah, it would appeal, you know, it'd sell. Just like Dillian Whyte and Chisora, you know what I'm saying? It has an audience out there, a particular demographic who like that type of shit. Me personally, I think it's a waste of time, or you know, having a third or fourth fight between those two. But you know, there's people who like that type of stuff because it's kind of like a throwback thing. There's a sort of nostalgic attachment that people have to that type of stuff too, and you know, you can see it from different perspectives. And of course, you got the Dillian Whyte thing, but Dillian Whyte, right, never lives up to expectations. Dillian Whyte talks a lot of shit. He's you know what? I tell you what, he's very similar to me. To Deontay Wilder. They're just more or less the same person. It's just like doesn't have the same type of punch that Deontay Wilder has. But in terms of mannerism, punk faking and all this type of stuff, talking a gang of shit and not being able to live up to it, they're the same shit. They're the same person. The same person, bro. But here's my thing, going back to Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua's got to maintain the same policy towards everybody. Tyson Fury will talk a gang of shit about you, do this and do that, you be quiet. But when it comes to Dillian Whyte, then you put some bullshit out about AJ this, AJ that, AJ will fuck your bitch. Nigga, shut the fuck up, man. So apparently, David Benavidez, Al Heyman, and his promoters, whatever the fuck his name is, some dude with a Eastern European name and sounds and talks as if he's Hispanic, I don't know. Anyway, the dude, they managed to find a 50 million offer out of somewhere. I mean, here's the thing, right? Isn't it kind of ironic that it's always 50 million? When it's Anthony Joshua, whenever, all right, there's a difficulty, as they perceive it. I'm not saying that the difficulty actually exists, but whenever there's a difficulty as they perceive it, then they're willing to sort of try and convince a particularly gullible audience out there that somebody's rejecting their offer. It's always that wonderful number, 50 million. And they put it out into the public and they run it up that flag, you know, that flagpole, and start waving it about, saying, look, we offered 50 million, we offered 50 million, we offered 50 million. They don't believe in doing things discreetly when it comes to that. They make it as popular as possible. You don't necessarily see that anybody's rejected it or not. They don't even give anybody the opportunity or time to sort of go through the motions and actually negotiate properly and see whether these things works out. They actually, if it is true, and that is a stretch, just by some stretch of their imagination, right, that the offer is legitimate and true, why do they deliberately always go out to sabotage it before they can arrive at some kind of conclusion? It's always like they're these young men in a hurry, and they're not even young. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like they're always in this ridiculous hurry when it comes to a 50 million offer, and you have to take it now. You have 24 hours, etc., etc. They haven't put those type of stipulations on Canelo on this occasion, but that's what they did to Anthony Joshua, isn't it? With that so-called 50 million that they had with Deontay the Bronze Bomber fucking Wilder. It's always the same shit. You got a big dude out there, a guy who's really making all the money, and suddenly out of nowhere, a motherfucker who can't even make fucking nearly over $1 million in his fights is offering 50 million, and you have to take it, and so on and so forth. Fuck that shit, bro. I don't take boxing seriously. I don't. But I just want to touch upon that. I think the 50, here's another, I mean, to be honest, the 50 million might be legit. It might be legit. But you got to think, like, why is it they're always willing to dig out 50 million for Canelo specifically? They did the same thing with Kelly Plant. You understand me? And now with Benavidez, they want to do the same thing. It's just that they make the offer and they put it out into the public, and it's almost like this pressure, and you've got these really degenerate types who suddenly latch onto it and want to talk about Canelo's ducking because he won't fight Benavidez. 50 million. Listen, I don't think the guy's really wanting for cash. If he doesn't want the fight, he doesn't take the fight. And to be honest, at this point, I don't even care if he takes the fight or not.